Hello, everyone. Welcome to the monthly full Athens in Motion Commission meeting. We'll pull up our agenda. I also want to acknowledge special guest Commissioner Karen, formerly chair of this group, is joining us as we talk about our Complete Streets policy update. But before we get to that, we have some other items. We have several minutes to approve, housekeeping. Since we don't have a big project to review, I did allocate a little bit of extra time for our corridor groups and committees. So maybe we'll get to have a little bit of conversation there. We are a busy group. I was going to say, I did flip-flop for those who looked at the agenda to begin with. I did flip-flop when we were talking about the Complete Streets policy update with the bike ped coordinator updates. So with that, I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda unless somebody wants to add anything else.
Okay, fine. I move to approve the agenda.
I'll second that.
All right. Teresa first, Mark second. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Any
Aye.
opposed? Same sign. Hearing none, we'll move on to public comments. Any public comments, Daniel?
No, they're not.
All right. We have 3 minutes to approve, and y'all, Jake is sick and he could not be here. I'm sorry, I forgot to mention that. But he was extra busy this month because we had our special called meeting on Barber Street, and before our last meeting, we had another special called meeting about Barber Street. So this is from our first special called meeting, March 3rd. We initially were talking again about Barber Street. Any questions, corrections to the minutes from our special call meeting on March 3rd?
I think they captured the meeting very well, so I move we approve those minutes.
All right, and Daniel, I should probably do these individually, right? The approval, okay. All right, so Teresa has made a motion to approve our minutes from March 3rd. I will second that approval. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Moving on. Oh, that's the same one. Here we go. So the next minutes we have to approve are from our regular session on March 23rd. So these ones are a bit longer. Detailed. I think there were some questions, or I don't know if the highlights being questions or corrections. The bridge over Trail Creek, that won't be done in fall of 2021. That will be done a little more than a year from now. Head bridge over under the loop. Actually, it is both over and under the loop. Because, so what Jake is referring to here, I believe Firefly Trail from Old Winterville Road to Hancock Road, and what's currently going on is there will be a pedestrian bridge. Once you go under the loop, on the other side, they're constructing a bridge that will go over the new on-ramp that GDOT is building when they redo that whole interchange. So it is both. There. Let's see if there's anything else on here. Yes, we adjourned at 6:11. Any other questions or comments about the minutes from our March meeting? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve our minutes from March 23rd.
It's your
Motion.
What time do you get there?
Zarin.
All right, so Aaron first. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second.
It was Teresa and who else?
Rob.
Well,
Okay, so we'll have Roswell second it because Teresa's on here. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, same sign. All right, so the minutes from March 23rd carried. 2 out of 3 so far, Jake. If you're watching it at home. No, you're not watching it, probably will. So our last minute to approve from our second special call session on Barber Street. This was earlier this month on April 6th. And we had a great big old motion here. I think Jake captured it accurately. Questions, comments, corrections?
I'd like to just thank everybody for coming to these extra meetings because it was very complicated and, you know, it took a lot of work to understand what we were dealing with. So thank you all.
Yes, and thank you, Teresa, for breaking it down for us. All right.
Since everybody else is being quiet, I'm going to go ahead and make another motion that we accept these minutes.
Would someone like to second that?
Second.
All right, Mark. All those in favor of our April 6th minutes, please say aye.
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 Any opposed, same sign. All right, so all 3 minutes pass. Thanks again to Jake. We're sorry you couldn't be here and really appreciate him documenting our meetings and getting this to us despite having to be out. All right, on to the next. Housekeeping. This was something, Daniel, I wanted to check in with you guys about with regard to adding meetings to calendars. Daniel, do you want to take this one?
Sure. We realized that with the way that different emails run in different ways, I wanted to just bring up that with the way that WebEx works, when I send out that meeting invite, there is an option to add that to your calendar. It might be a .ics file, or it might just come up like on the screen here, add to calendar. Once you've done that, the email might be difficult to locate again, but you can always go into your calendar and open it up and join the meeting from there. It's possible that there could be an issue, and just let me know. I know Teresa's done that before and she had an issue today, so I can always resend out the invite. But just if any of you are finding weird workarounds to get it to work, just let me know and we could possibly see. Maybe it's getting embedded somewhere.
Thank you, Daniel. And yeah, I've been manually adding my events, so this is much easier. And now I can find the link because it's in my calendar. Much easier. The other thing I wanted to talk about is our next meeting is scheduled for May 25th. That's not Memorial Day week. It's actually the following week. Memorial Day is really late this year. It's May 31st. But I did want to check in with you guys and make sure that we would have a quorum, or if not, we would reschedule or do something different. So is there anyone who knows that they will not make it to our Tuesday, May 25th meeting?
Oh, I should say, I'm looking at my calendar. I might have an event a recruitment event at that time, that evening. So it's not set in stone yet. It depends on, we get a critical mass of participants, but there's a chance I may not make it.
And I'll be on annual leave out of town without access. So I'll be able to make that.
Okay, so Roz will be out of town. Aaron might have an event. And everyone else plans to be here?
Yep.
Okay, well, that's not very many out at all. All right, so I guess we will have our meeting at the usual time. Thank y'all. Okay, next on the agenda, I'll share my screen again. All right, is complete streets policy update. And this is one we're going to try and get through, or at least decide what our next steps are before Roswell has to sign off. So I'm gonna, let me see, how do I want to go about this? Here's my introduction. This is something the policy committee has been working on, or began working on more than a year ago. It was like one of our, probably our first big task as a committee. And Carol was with us then. You all know that we had COVID and there was a gap in our work. But once we got on the, once we started meeting again, we had a draft and Carol looked at what we had and took a deep dive into numerous other complete streets policies and began again with fresh eyes. And then we have spent the past 6 months going through this document. And when I say going through it, I mean, as a committee, we've been through it line by line in some sections multiple times. In addition, I know we've individually gone through it. Teresa, I know you've been through it at least twice, the whole thing, making notes. So the current policy is from 2000. I know I'm going through this a little bit fast, but it's linked in our agenda. It also has a resolution attached to it that this one does not. I don't think we felt it was needed. It has 7 sections. The new policy that we're looking at today has more sections. In particular, we have added equity components to it that was not there before. And thank you, Mark, for your comments just now. So what we'd like to do today is, and we can take this in a couple of directions. If y'all have had a chance to look at it and you feel good about it, we would really like to continue. We'd like to maybe take a motion to approve it and continue on the path to acceptance, adoption. This would have to go to Blaine next. We're not even close to having this be in place, but we're determined. If you see some glaring issues with it and you want to kick it back to the policy committee, we can also do that. If you feel like you want more time to look at it for yourself, and we could vote on it next month, that is also an option. So I will open the floor for discussion and questions.
Lauren, may I speak?
Yes.
Okay. The one thing I wanted to add in here, because that was a very good overview for me and reminder, was that when I was going through that and when we were going through that, like looking at the past policies, we were also looking at that complete street policy matrix that comes out of Smart Growth, Complete Street America. And so some of the sections added were in direct response to that kind of evaluation metric. So with the goal being of getting I think what did we have a score of? Like, I don't know, like some low number, like 32 out of 100 points, and that the goal was to move it to getting, closer to 90 to 100 points in our evaluation there. So I just wanted to put that in there.
Yes, thank you, Carol. I did fail to mention, like, why are we doing the complete streets policy? It's not just about time, it's about the rating of it. And some of the comments that stood out were that our policy just had no teeth to it. It was just like, oh, it'd be nice if we could have such and such. Could we do that? But so this one has more teeth to it and is more specific. I will say we already know that there's going to be a version 2 or 2.1 for this policy because TPW is going to have an equity toolkit, and we would love to reference that. And we did want to get in line with what is the term now? ACC Gov's diversity and inclusion language, but that hasn't been fleshed out yet. So once that becomes available and the equity toolkit exists, we can make those updates. So rather than wait for those things, we just want to go ahead and get something out because it's been almost 10 years since our last Complete Streets policy was passed.
I personally would like to take just a little longer to review everything. Just me. So I mean, and that's something, especially say how the next meeting, I won't be available. I can certainly email my thoughts out. I don't want to hold anything up, but as far as today, I would want to take a closer look.
I'm going to say something else as well here, Lauren. Just as a, FYI to everyone, I know the last time I was in here, I told you guys I was part of the Smart Growth Champions Institute, and I had to put forth a project as my final project for this thing. And one of the project that I put forward was basically from my new role, shepherding through this, which require this policy through to give it attention and hopefully get it passed sooner than later. So that once you guys like have this through, that I would work with, and in fact, I already told Mayor Kelly that I wanted to speak with him on this issue, and also I'd really like to speak. I'll reach out to Daniel as well if I figure out the right protocol there. But in my role, I definitely don't have to figure out any right protocol for reaching out to Kelly to do this. I just don't want this policy to like we have spent so much time on this. I don't want it to go to a commission committee at which it would then take another year and a half because they might start from scratch. And so I'd like to, I just want to know that once you guys have done your part here, that I'm going to be advocating for this sooner than later. And anyway, that's just to let you know my plans.
Thank you, Commissioner Myers. We appreciate your support, your there's a better word for this, your championing.
Hey, Lauren, I was under the impression we were going to vote today, and that's why I, made those comments and stuff. Is it going to be a problem to delay the timeline, especially if we're also not able to vote at the next meeting? Seemed like we wanted to get this going.
We will be able to vote, right? We'll have a quorum.
Okay.
Can we phrase a motion that we, that it's a provisional approval, that we send this to the county manager. But we will allow some time for additional comments before we send it. Could we do that? Would that be okay, Roswell?
Craig, did you have a question or a comment?
Thank you. I think what could ease the process of voting is to know what the amendment process looks like for maybe us and for commissioners, because oftentimes with policy, there might be some hesitation where this is kind of a done deal, but how often will this be revised? What is the process for making amendments? And that could make it easier to put it out there, get the ball rolling on. Y'all have done such great hard work on this. And then if there are amendments that need to come later on, what is that process and procedure like?
That's a great question. And Carol, your time as a commissioner, have you seen any amendments or people talking about amendments to existing policy as opposed to edits, new policy?
No, I would think that this would take a little while to get to the commission, and that if, and actually between now and the beginning of May, the commission and mayor are going to be working on the budget. So I don't think there's going to be any deep dive into this. And this policy of alternative transportation is not like a hot topic that someone's going to jump on right away here among the fellow commissioners. So I don't think anything's going to happen. So, I mean, I actually think that if you approved it provisionally this month for review by Daniel, maybe TPW, that then you could get that feedback and Roswell's feedback and revise it, again as needed, and pass it again in another month or something, to get it sort of moving in the right direction from what Daniel has to do at his end. So it does take a while for something. I mean, the thing is, it can very easily get revised by the commissioners in different ways. But what I would like to do, what I'm going to commit myself to doing, is you guys making the best thing and getting the input, and I will work with each commissioner to educate them as well, and perhaps get some of you involved in that. I don't know if that makes sense.
Daniel, does this have to go back to, is that the next step to go to TPW? Because I thought next step was going to Blaine.
Stephen might be able to speak better to it, but I think we've been involved the whole time. I don't think he.
Yeah, I would echo that, Daniel, that we've been a big part of this. I feel comfortable with it, so bringing it to the managers next sounds great.
Okay, so I know, as Teresa had said, Roswell would like more time to look at that and to look at the policy, and I think that that's totally fine. Just let me ask you guys this: do you feel like any comments you have are going to be pretty small, and that will be able to, or do you anticipate us coming back together in May and then you guys kicking it back to the policy committee in June? What are y'all thinking? Do you just want more time to look at it, or do you think that you'll be ready to vote then?
Once I can take a more complete look, I can indicate in the email my thoughts and my vote, if that makes it easier.
At this point, having been intimately involved with Complete Streets for quite some time now, I feel like it's in pretty good shape. I'm not going to say it's perfect by any stretch, but it's in pretty good shape. And, obviously we want to make sure that I feel like we should have sort of a unanimous agreement amongst ourselves to put it forward. So, you know, I just don't want us to like get bogged down in process. So, you know, whatever we have to do to, you know, kind of get this off our plates, but make sure that everybody's had a chance to weigh in so that everybody feels good about it. That's what I'd like to do. So, so maybe Roswell could make a motion for us.
I mean, seeing how I still need to review it, I don't see a big need for me to make some unanimous motion for the entire group. However, my thoughts are that so it can keep moving as soon as possible, I can review this as soon as possible and I can email the group. And again, my intentions to in the vote as well, so that it's not bogged down. I'm just not sure about the process of, even if we approve this provisionally now, what's going to happen that's going to keep us moving forward faster than we would prior to getting the comments back.
Yeah, I don't think we have to make a motion today or even make a motion that we're going to make a motion. I think that it's fine for us to table this vote until our next meeting in May. And Roswell's indicated that he's going to email thoughts, and everyone else can as well, or you're welcome to comment as Mark is doing on the document itself. And so we'll just look at it and we'll discuss and we'll vote on what we have on May 25th.
Lauren, so it is okay for me to simply email indicating my vote. That's perfectly okay.
You know, I think I kind of need Daniel and Steven on this one, but I thought that we talked about email votes and like, I don't know if we are allowed to do that. I mean, I would take it.
I think it would be more probably ceremonial, but seeing as you guys would have a enough votes attending at the meeting, it would still be considered unanimous. But
Okay, great.
officially on the docket, I don't think his vote would be counted as a yes. It would just be absent. So
I just want to make sure I wasn't holding anything up. So I'll get my comments in and that's fine. All right, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, and
there
of course,
is a possibility if y'all wanted to do a special called vote. Roswell, if you know approximately how much time you'd like to look at it, we could do a special called vote in the next week or two. Or if you prefer to have the whole month, that's fine too. And we can just do it at the next regular scheduled meeting.
Okay, I'll be in touch with Lauren in the coming days.
yeah, regardless of what we decide to do, whether we take the vote at the May meeting or not, it's absolutely great if we have your support, Roswell. So,
Thank you.
but if you don't like it, just let me know. All right. Any other discussion about the policy as it stands today? Questions, little things that are standing out to you guys before you begin your personal review? I feel like I should have suggested a soundtrack to listen to while you're reading this, like maybe Highway to the Danger Zone.
Just saying the same thing.
Were you really?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it looked great. I mean, I was very happy with it. It's just a few comments, and I think it really is a huge improvement and shows a lot of work on your part that went into it. All of you, that was a plural of you, who wrote the document. So thank you.
Thanks for that. We love transportation policy.
Who doesn't?
Okay. know, right? All right, I'm going to go ahead and move on. And thank you all for taking a look at it between now and our next meeting. The policy committee will probably go ahead and move on to other items in the meantime. So I'm going to kick it over to Daniel. I'm going to pull up the agenda just briefly, and then I'll turn it off because I want to see your faces over my words. Yeah, so we'll talk about pavement schedule, commissioner seat status, priority scoring coming soon, and any project status updates or other items of note. So take it away, Daniel.
Absolutely. All right. So with the pavement schedule, there was the document I sent out about, I guess, maybe a month or two ago with our upcoming CY 2021 repavement schedule. And I reviewed that with Hillary and Stephen, and we felt that there wasn't any need for any adjustments to. I got some echo coming back. Just gonna do a little muting. Okay. There were some adjustments to the. There are no adjustments to the actual pavement schedule, and it can move forward as planned. I think basically the only thing that my report is going to include is that there are some roads that are getting repaved but not repainted, and that is a good thing because they're neighborhood roads and they could be brought into a future like bike boulevard or one of those types of programs in the future with road painting. Is that accurate, Stephen? What Hillary was saying?
Yes.
Year.
Yep.
So with that, I don't know if I can entertain motions, but I would like to entertain you guys entertaining a motion to basically create some sort of language about not having any suggestions for next year, 2021's repaving, unless you guys have some areas that you would like to discuss. Mark, hold on.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Didn't realize I was muted. We already discussed, this last meeting, and I think we identified a few areas like on Child Street and places like that where we had some suggestions, but beyond that, didn't have anything else to add.
Yeah, so with that particular intersection, it being repaved, I think we set it up as a roadway safety audit, as a potential kind of reworking the curbs to cut down on the length of intersection. But as far as the repaving goes, Stephen, would there be any action needed on that? Like, would we prefer to bump that an extra year out to see if there's funds, or would it be better to repave it and then cut out the new paving in the future?
You're saying wait until after the roadway safety audit to see if anything comes up? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, because basically we were looking at it in the aerial, and let me see if I can share my screen to pull up what we're talking about. I have two keyboards.
I got it.
Oh, thank you. So if we can, yeah. So basically you can see where pavement was added in the past with concrete to expand out that turn radius. And so there was some discussion about the possibility when they repave, they're likely going to repave all the way up to the edge of the curve there. And so is there some work that needs to be done ahead of time that we might identify in a roadway safety audit that that would need to happen before it gets repaved?
I'll add that I had a personal experience to add to your safety audit, that I was riding my bike up Child toward Barrow, and a guy decided, who was driving down Barrow to use that big giant expanse to make a U-turn and almost hit me. So I didn't make it into any statistics, but it was enough that I yelled at the guy. So the main thing is it just makes a very long pedestrian crossing. You have to, it's like 80 feet to get across there from, the top of the screen to the bottom. And it's just kind of ugly.
And that could be done outside of the paving schedule as well. That's markings. And the other point to make is, Daniel, just depending on availability of the roadway safety audit team, we could also try and fit that in prior to paving season. If that's a specific spot we think is most likely to make a change, we can put that one in, this summer. Paving probably won't start until July at the earliest.
Mm-hmm. Well, I appreciate you considering that. Thank you.
So would we want to include that, Stephen, in a recommendation for Ronnie?
I would say if that specific spot's what we're looking at, that we would recommend trying to get a roadway safety audit team out there before paving starts. But I don't know that it really has to be built into the paving agenda. It's something that we can adjust as long as we adjust it before the contractor's out there.
Are there any other areas of note people would like to discuss?
I don't have anything. I did find it useful, Ronnie's explanation that Athens has inherited some of these roads and some of them just don't have great grading underneath them. And I just wanted to mention that to folks who may wonder why some roads, degrade faster than others. Of course, there's a whole host of reasons: environmental, traffic, how the road was built underneath when we got a hold of it. And as much as, pavement maintenance is maybe not a fun phrase, as Mark is pointing out, like when we're on these roads on our bikes, we notice when the pavement is degrading. It's not just an attractive, it hurts.
Mm-hmm.
And some people have gotten seriously injured due to degraded roads. So it's very important.
Well, yeah, absolutely. So I guess we get some sort of language for Ronnie.
Okay. What I'll say is the Athens in Motion Commission approves the pavement maintenance program for fiscal year 2021 and has no recommendations beyond Child Street. Do we want to say Child Street at this point? Or
I think we could say, I don't know, Stephen, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, the recommendation can be that further study along at the Child Street intersection through the roadway safety audit team, and would encourage any, collaboration between paving schedule and those findings.
okay.
And also, just one clarification: it's calendar year 21.
Oh, thank you. Calendar year 21. That makes sense.
That's what CY means.
Yes. Okay, so the Athens in Motion Commission recommends or would like further study on the roadways, would like further study on Child Street, and invites collaboration pending the roadway safety audit for this stretch, and otherwise has no further recommendations for the pavement maintenance program for calendar year 2021. And that's my motion. So I will entertain a second.
Second that.
Thank you, Mark. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Any opposed, same sign, please. Hearing none, motion carries. All right.
All right.
Moving on to Daniel's next items.
All right. I'm looking for it right now. There we go. Okay. Okay, for the commissioner seat status, I sent that update to you guys, just basically announcing that the applications are in. I believe there were 13 applicants. I never heard back whether or not I can give you guys a list of the actual applicants. I did ask Jean that. I didn't receive a response. So if you guys would like to know who applied, I could reach out more, or it sounds like they will be approved at potentially, what was the date that I said? I think the next mayor commission meeting.
Have they completed their interviews at this point?
I just have gotten bare bones outline
Sure.
on their process. So yeah, so essentially they just said that there were 13 applicants. Mayor and commission are interviewing them and appointing them on May 4th.
So they did such a good job picking us. I kind of tend to trust them to pick, other good candidates.
Yeah. All right, and then on to the next topic.
Quick thing, do we have anyone? We don't have anyone expiring this year, do we? Expiring.
I hope not.
Yeah,
Never know.
How do you figure it out?
There was a wasn't it 3, 4, and 5 years, I think?
Yes. I think I'm till 2022, so no, is that right?
Were there 2-year though? I thought I was maybe 2-year. Is that not?
I'm not sure. There will be minutes. We should get Jake maybe to look through the minutes. He's probably got minutes from that meeting.
Yeah, I have I left my big plan at work, but I have it. I think I have some of that in there because I'm 4 years, and so I think I was in the middle. And some people were 5 years, and some people were 3 years. I think.
Yeah, I think I was 4, but I still remember being in the middle.
Yeah, so I was thinking about keeping this commission alive and vibrant. Let's make sure we're getting people involved, and we're getting folks who could be future commissioners. I wish I had done a little bit more recruiting. I think we had more people apply previously. Of course, there were more positions, and don't forget to recruit people for your committees, because you don't have to be on the commission to do the work that's involved. All right. Thank you, Danielle. I'm sorry. I'll kick it back over to you.
No problem. And on here it says priority scoring. Do you know if that's in reference to?
Yeah, that was the equity component. And then it had come up in Jake's minutes. So it says Daniel will provide a map of priority scores for the next meeting. And this was about equity. So this might be the thing you're working on.
Yeah, so I think I presented it at the grants and data meeting. And our servers are still down. So yeah, I will have to maybe bump it to another meeting. I'm sorry, guys.
Oh no, I'm
working on like we've been working around it, but hopefully this
Daniel, I have good news, bad news for you. The good news is the servers are back up as of about a couple hours ago. The bad news is we lost the last 4 months worth of data that were on the servers.
Cool.
Oh, man.
So these were locally hosted servers?
Yep, and apparently one of our servers got hit by lightning, so we lost everything since the last backup in like December 2020.
That's really bad.
I'm really sorry. You know, I'm an IT professional when I'm not a transit nerd, so I feel for your IT department and for you guys that lost all your work.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I think most of what I've worked on is on my P drive, but that definitely had all of my progress on that particular project. So let's just go ahead and bump that out by a couple months. Well, that's a bummer.
Yeah, maybe back up more often than once every 4 months.
Yeah, it's interesting. They do a backup every Friday, and then every month, and then every, I guess, 4 months, and I guess they get stored in different places, maybe. So it sounds like the 4 month storage was fine, but the month and weekly backups were gone. So, all right.
Yeah.
The project status, Barber Street is going to public input tomorrow. The we were slowed down a little bit by the server outage, and so I'm kind of rushing to finish up the last couple tasks tonight, and then it should be good to host tomorrow. But there are just a couple data things that I'm trying to clean up before then. Thanks, Roswell. And,
Roswell.
yeah, besides that, so it'll be open for 3 weeks, and I know you guys are going to look at it and be like, wait, why didn't we have this information? We've done a pretty good job of packaging everything up. It's pretty understandable, so it'll hopefully be a lot easier for people to understand, and then may even help you guys kind of see some of that. I could actually, I don't know how we are on time. Do you want to get a sneak preview?
Yes. We have time.
All right. Let's see. All right. Can everyone see the screen? All right, I will just go into this one, maybe. All right, so what we've got is, this is the computer version that we're going to be seeing, but there is going to be a mobile version that will be available once we get that finished. GIS office is working on that. So you can see it kind of gives you an intro into the project here. You can click on these segments to see kind of which segments are which. And then you can also skip ahead down here within the survey. Then there's also going to be a link to the project webpage here, a link to our recorded presentation, which we just finished yesterday, and the PDF of the presentation. You can go to background information, and this just kind of outlines the history of the project and other projects and gives you some links. So Athens in Motion Plan is linked here. Talks about the other Athens in Motion projects that we've done up to date. It links to those SPLOST project pages, and also some of these background studies that informed the plan. Talked about the consultant project development and the recommendation from you guys. And so we just basically said that you guys looked at it and you voted in April to recommend the design outlined in the story map. So this is what we've put forward. Within the proposed design, we start off with kind of an overview. It does take a little bit of time. Little intro here. And then as you click on these, it actually brings up the intersections, the cost estimate, a description of that location. And then here, this is actually one that is currently kind of in progress. So it might look strange, but the AMC recommended alternative will be what is here. And then you can click on this to see the other alternative. Like I said, it's not really set up to do that yet. We've got cross sections in here too, and you can actually click on these to open it up and see larger versions of them. And so, yeah, we just, it goes into segment 2, and with this, you can zoom in and really get in there, well, about like that, to kind of explore that entire corridor. That goes all the way down to segment 4. And then here we have the recommended alternative, which will be the Sharrows, and then the alternative 2 will populate with what that multi-use path would look like. From there, you can go into parcel impacts, where basically it's the same map, except we have parcels turned on, and those parcel addresses are highlighted over each one, and you can click on the parcel. And then there's the cost breakdown, which this is where we kind of have like an interactive pie chart to an extent. You can basically select on these segments and build your own if you want to see here's preferred alternative, or you can add in the additional cost of the alternative 2. You know, and you can go through and say, okay, well, this is, if we just did 1 through 3, that would be 5.5 million. You know, but then we'd have to add in the boulevard intersection. So, so this is what is recommended from you guys right now. And then there's these 2 additional costs right here that are the alternatives that we're bringing to the public. And those are separated out over here as well. So then there's the final survey. And that just kind of allows you to say all stuff, how you use it, how you will use it. We've got these section views in there. We're asking what your preference is between 3 or 4 lane, and we made sure to mention that this is the AIMC recommended alternative, and this is alternative 2. And then we also have this option down here to basically rate your priority, high, medium, and low, or do not build. And then you can add in additional comments. So that's what we got.
Wow, Daniel, I can't think of anything you left out. I love that our recommendation was included, that you bracketed that. It's amazing the way that we can interact with this tool. So my internet here in East Athens is very slow. Will we have a boring link to the survey on the page and a boring link to the PDF page? Because man, I love this tool, but sometimes it just doesn't want to load for me.
Yeah, and that's a really good point that you brought up, because there's kind of 2 camps of thoughts. One is that we should share a central location and link that distributes information, and people can choose which way they want to select it. And the other is to kind of share the survey link directly, you know, and independent from the story map, rather than having it embedded within the story map all the time, to share it separately. And so that's a really good point that I can bring up with our team. I think we plan on sharing that link separately for this round, but that's definitely a good point. And what we can, you know, in the future, I don't think we're doing any in-person events for this, but on future projects, we always try to make a print version of the survey, which with Survey 123, it makes it pretty easy to do that. So, and that'll allow for distribution like at events and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I know it's a little bit less efficient to have the landing page and have people choose to go the story map, which I love the story. Don't get me wrong, I love it. That could help. Why aren't there going to be in-person events this time?
So with COVID, and we haven't really had in-person events for, I think, the other projects. You know, me coming in on the end of this, we wanted to kind of keep it standard to what some of the other projects experienced. And so it's a little different because I think we had a consultant working on this one. Stephen, did we have consultants on the last 3 projects?
We did, but not to the level that has been involved in this.
And did we have in-person events on those?
No, well, we had additional, you know, original walk audits on each of these, but nothing in person since then. And I think the decision for all of these was made months ago. You know, if we could make the decision right now today, we probably would consider some in-person things. But at this point, I think with the timing, it may be past the point to make that decision.
Okay, understood. I know I'm just getting mixed up between our things that have been in person and our, you know, those kind of common opportunities. So I was just wondering about that. Thanks.
Now, Stephen, I don't know if we prepared like a paper version of the survey, and if they were going to distribute those, is that something that we could do if the commission, if you guys wanted to help distribute surveys? Or would that throw off the curve?
That would be pretty easy to create, you know, a PDF version of this, similar to what we did with corridors. So if y'all are interested, we can put some money toward printing some stuff.
So yeah, just let us know if you guys want to do that. I don't know if y'all are like tabling anytime soon, but during normal times, we definitely would have tabling set up, probably at farmers market. I'm not even sure if they're open again. I think they are.
Yeah, the farmers market's open. I guess I will. I want to defer to Teresa on whether she thinks it would be helpful to have some printed materials.
Well, that's a good question. I think it would be good to have maybe a few signs in strategic locations like we did for the T-Splosh, although I don't have any way of knowing how effective those were in getting people to pay attention. You know, what you really need is a good network. People saying, do this, please, look at this, please, and then giving them the link so that it's easy for them. So I don't know if there are places like, there are places where people are starting to gather. Maybe we could have a few little, you know, postcard size flyers or something like that. Like just an idea.
We are sending out postcards to all of the houses and businesses within that corridor. And so there will be a link on those postcards. And I think, I'm not sure when they're estimated to arrive, but I know we had some issues with that because of the server as well. We couldn't even connect to our printers. And so that, I believe, has been resolved. Stephen, have you heard from Julia where she's at on the postcards?
I think the last thing she said was she may have just had to recreate them, but I believe that's happening either today or tomorrow.
Okay.
I think that that's going to be your best method of communication right now. is the postcards. And, you know, see what kind of response you're getting about halfway through, if anybody's actually logging in, taking the survey. And if not, then, you know, try to come up with a different way of getting people's attention.
I know this is far above the project itself, but Daniel, I wonder in future surveys if we can ask how they learned about the project, so we can get feedback on, you know, future ways to do the outreach.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I was just thinking, you know, if there is a QR code on the flyers, and this is something that I know it's possible. I don't personally know how to do it, but I would imagine that there's a way you can set up the QR code to kind of identify, like if you have a different QR code on each one, where people are
How they got there.
through, yeah, which QR code they're coming through to get to your survey. That'd be kind of interesting. We can talk with GIS about that for a future.
Are all of these materials in English only?
Yes.
Okay. It'd be great to get some stuff in Spanish sometime. I don't know if we can for this project, but in particular, I think that we'll have a good response rate from the folks who live along this corridor. I think that they're pretty engaged, and that's awesome. But it's also not just for them; it's for our workers too. We're probably more of a mixed group.
Yeah, we're
Lauren.
Oh, go ahead, Steven.
Just to say, as to getting some stuff in Spanish, yeah, I think those of you who've sat in on the user groups for the corridors lately have probably heard this from Jeff Montgomery or from people kind of relaying his information. But PIO, the Public Information Office, really wants to do this in bilingual in the future, but they want to make sure that that's standardized and that they have not only are the information going out in Spanish, but that if someone has questions, they can actually call in and ask those questions in Spanish, which is, you know, it's not helpful if there's some information there, but nobody's able to actually answer their questions. And they're also, he really wants to make sure that there's somebody on staff who's translating or, you know, creating his materials correctly. There's different dialects in Spanish that you can really mess up the message if you don't do it correctly. So I understand where he's coming from. He wants to make this kind of a concerted government-wide action, not project by project, but it is, I can assure you, it's something they're working strongly on to get formalized pretty soon.
Thank you for that update. Yeah, I agree. We need to have someone who can listen to, talk at, and throw out materials. So I understand.
We want to make sure all of the translation materials are correct and everything is standardized. So
yeah, so you need a bilingual person who's also a copy editor too. So they're almost kind of like they are a marketing person.
They've put forth a proposal to ask for that in, I believe, next year's budget. I think they've been asking for that for a while. Jeff could definitely speak to that better than I could, but yeah, so we'll, I guess we'll see if Mayor and Commission funds that. I think that's it for updates for me. We've got the Tallahassee roadway safety audit is kind of up on my to-do list next. And that's mostly a vehicular safety issue right now. I know there's a lot of pedestrian and bike safety issues out there, but this particular roadway safety audit is in regards to the high number of crashes. And I know in the next few years, we're going to be having the 2020 SPLOST funded Tallahassee multi-use path. And so hopefully that would accomplish a lot of the issues with bike and ped access out there. And then there's also the upcoming bridge construction, which is slated for the next few years, which also has multi-use path access across that bridge. So so that's why we're trying to focus more on the vehicular safety aspect to kind of get people to slow down a bit out there and especially with it changes from a rural corridor to an urban, and so you got your high speed kind of issues of wildlife and deer further out and further in too. But you just have very different problems and a lot of high speed stuff going on. So um, yeah, so that's kind of the next on the to-do list.
That's great to hear. I just moved out there with my girlfriend last summer, and so I like that now all the time, and it's certainly could be safer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And then I think that's it for my update. I know I've kind of sucked up a lot of time. And I know Todd's on the call. Is his update under your chair report, or I noticed Firefly Trail there, which is
I'm sorry, I didn't put a space in there for Todd.
that's all right.
Todd.
Todd, you go ahead and take up my last 5 minutes of my 45 minute segment.
Sorry.
My update's just super quick. We've continued to uh, pour concrete on the phase 2 Firefly Trail project. And then the bridge should be going in, the one that will go over the eventual new overpass in the next couple of weeks. And then, as you probably have seen, the trees have come down at the trestle project, and the trestle should begin to be demoed in the next couple of weeks. They've been working on putting their crane pads in to assist in the demolition. So that's really the two major things that I have. The greenway through the cemetery, they're still doing some budgeting and geotech testing and that kind of stuff. So we really haven't really truly broke ground on that one. So, but it's coming. So, and that's it.
Thank you, Todd. I have a note to make sure to give you space on the agenda next time, especially when you have such great updates about such great projects.
No
I
problem.
like to hear that. Yeah, the Murmur Trestle, quite a project. I mean, it's like, wow, okay, now I understand why this is 8 million. All that is involved to make that happen. Looking forward to that. All right, time for my updates, and this will be pretty quick. I just wanted to mention that Firefly has reached out to us about partnering to find some ways to establish some connections between the trail itself and the broader community, particularly East Athens. So more to come with that. That was just an initial outreach. And then they are also tentatively planning an event, a bike day for October. So I did want to bring that to y'all's attention, especially to Teresa, because they're hoping to partner with us. So there's not a lot of details yet, but I did want to just put that on y'all's radar. And I think that I would love for us to help out with something like that, especially because our own Open Streets event is on hiatus, but October, cross our fingers, going to be great. So I haven't, so there's more information to come. Still trying to figure stuff out both on connectivity and this event. I just wanted to mention that. I met with Sorba recently, some folks from that group, and I think that there's some great opportunity to collaborate. They do share an interest in establishing connections. So there's nothing concrete yet. Aaron, do you like that? Did you like that? But it was really great.
I love puns, so yeah.
Highway to the danger zone. It was really great to talk with those folks and see where our mission of connectivity can overlap. So I think that there's a lot of potential there. again, not a lot to report, but just a great conversation with those folks over at Sorba. Maybe they're watching, maybe they're listening in. You know, they're
Very
not
cool.
necessarily anti-asphalt or concrete. So, and that's all that I have on my end. So we will move into the corridor committee phase of our meeting. And wow, you know, the Prince Avenue Corridor Committee, I didn't realize this, Mark, that y'all are meeting twice a month.
We are meeting twice a month, including tomorrow morning.
Yes. Yeah. At 9 a.m., right? 9 a.m. to 10:30.
9 a.m. to 10:30, yeah. Do you want me to give you a little update?
Yes, please.
Are you cueing me? Yeah, so basically, the committee, one of the main tasks that the citizen members of the committee have done over the past month is to create a huge document that has all of the recommendations from 8 different reports. And then we voted on those and prioritized them, smaller numbers being better. And I just went through it this afternoon and looked, and kind of to summarize, I mean, there were dozens and dozens of things that got rated, but in terms of grouping them, bike lanes along the entire corridor were highly recommended. 3-laning, especially from Pulaski to Barber, with slightly less enthusiasm for Barber to millage, but you know, we're talking 9 people voting and a difference of 0.3. So the statistician in me is like, they're the same. Improving intersections for pedestrian safety, raised medians, particularly in the normal town, kind of near the hospital area, mid-block crossings in several places that make a lot of sense. And when we had a lot of input on that with beacons, including probably beacons in the middle of the road, so they really get some attention. Trying to reduce the number of curb cuts throughout the corridor to reduce conflict zones with between cars exiting and bikes. And then something that also has come up and that I think there was a lot of enthusiasm for was realigning Park and Talmadge. They currently are, it's a horrible intersection, particularly for pedestrians. There's just not a great, safe way to cross there. This area is seeing a lot of growth. We now have a brew pub and several new restaurants going in there. And so realigning that was seen as a really important benefit if we could do that. And those are the main points. There were lots of other things, but those were kind of the main points. So we're meeting tomorrow, further discussion and kind of starting to move toward the public engagement phase.
Yeah, wow, that committee is really involved. All those documents.
It's been a lot. It's been an education. It's been good. I guess the question is when you think that we should, as Athens in Motion, provide input on these priorities. I can share the priority document with you if you want to look at that. I don't think it's anything, it's certainly nothing secret. It's just the members of the committee voting, and it's anonymous, so we don't know who voted for what. But that might give you some insight in terms of kind of updating or modifying that letter if you're interested.
Daniel, what do you think? And both you and Stephen are in those meetings. You were there, right? Yeah. When is a good time for us to weigh in?
That's a good question. I know right now the timeline is outlined that the user group is going to come up with a recommended list of projects, and then that will be presented to mayor and commission at a June work session. Seeing as I assume that in that work session, there's not actually any voting, but mayor and commission will probably want to add or remove projects at that point. So Stephen, would it make sense for them to comment on that final list of projects that are submitted by the committee to mayor and commission?
Yeah, if we can get comments before that June work session. I mean, not that we have to have final comments by then, because the mayor and commission aren't going to be voting at that point, but they could at least see where Athens in Motion is leaning on that list.
That makes a lot of sense.
And this would be before they take before you guys take public comment?
Yes, so the plan is that the list of projects are going to be, the list of projects and preparations for the public input are going to be brought to Mayor and Commission for them to review in a work session. And that's just more of an update for them so they know kind of what the group is doing and they can say, yeah, we think you're on the right path, or wait a second, like, you know, let's revisit this. And so yeah, and part of what we've discussed at that meeting is also like tomorrow morning, the GIS office is going to come on, and I know one of their interns, Emily, she's been working with me on the Barber Street stuff as well. She is working on that one as well, and so we talked a little bit this afternoon about some formats of how they're going to be asking questions to try to make it a little easier to navigate. So they're going to be presenting that tomorrow. So we're kind of both coming up with a project list and coming up with the questions and approach that are going to be taken in the survey process. And then we'll also be outlining like to what extent are we going to be engaging in the community to get that feedback.
Okay, yeah. I got you. And if there's, I know we're going about this a little bit differently than our other two corridors where we were waiting to give the Athens in Motion perspective until after public comment. And so that's why I just want to ensure there's success with Prince Avenue with whatever projects are chosen. And if there's any way we as a commission can do that, get ahead of that, or help by educating and informing, I want to. Okay, so we should put this on our next agenda.
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, next agenda, Prince Avenue projects. Weigh in on list that the MC will look at in June. Did I get that right?
Mm-hmm. Sounds right.
Great. All right, anything else about Prince Avenue, Mark?
Nothing else to report at this time.
Okay. I will try and listen in the background tomorrow if I have time.
Who's taking minutes so I can send them that list of key elements? Sorry, I missed that.
You know, I didn't appoint anyone else to take minutes because I made the assumption that Jake would go back and watch this. Was that wrong? I probably should have.
No, it's good. Yeah, that's a better idea than I thought. I was just thinking we forgot, but you're already ahead of things, Lauren.
Okay.
I just put it in the chat.
Okay, I'm copying this. Great. Okay, so that's Prince Avenue, and then I forget whether Atlanta Highway is next or Lexington. Jake is not here, so we can't comment on Lexington. So either way, it's Teresa up to bat.
Yay, Atlanta Highway. Okay. So, the Atlanta Highway corridor included 25 projects, and they were grouped in three. There were transit, there were roadway improvement, and there were bike ped. The most underrepresented group was, of course, transit. There were approximately 2, maybe 3 actual transit users who weighed in on any of the transit projects. So there were between 10 and 15 responses. And of course, there were more responses against than in favor, but there were more ambiguous responses than there were negative responses. And when I say ambiguous, it was people saying things like, well, I don't use transit, so I don't feel like I can weigh in on this, or, you know, it may be a good idea, but I don't know. So but there were really only, you know, 2 unique stakeholders. So I think that the survey failed that group pretty badly. Okay, the next group is the roadway improvements, and these are things like fixing up that nasty intersection at Timothy Road and Mitchell Bridge and Atlanta Highway. If you've ever driven through there or attempted to ride your bicycle or walk across it, you know, it's a death trap. So that's very popular. Fixing that up is very popular. There is a flyover, the loop that would connect Jennings Mill Road that got a lot of response, mostly negative. The residents of Kingswood do not want that flyover because it would make the cut through traffic in their neighborhood worse than it already is. And I know it's bad. Because I have to confess, I have on occasion when I have been late for an appointment, have gone through Kingswood to get to my destination. And I feel bad about it every time I do it. But I know I'm not the only one because I see a lot of others doing it. So the flyover, I would say, you know, if Athens in Motion is going to weigh in on it, I would say that we shouldn't support that one. Okay. Bike ped, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 individual projects. Now, some of these projects have 2 versions. One of it would be like a sidewalk version, one would be a multi-use path version. So there were quite a number of responses. I would say that this section got the most traffic. The Mitchell Bridge people are pretty interested in having, you know, either their sidewalk completed or their multi-use path installed. But the real winners of this contest were Timothy Road. Timothy Road really wants sidewalks or multi-use. Huge number of responses. There were like 110 for one project, 81 for one project, 114 for another, 77 for another, and you know, the closest competition was 40, and that I think was for Mitchell Bridge. So there's a lot of support for doing something at Timothy Road, and you know, it's the one section that goes from Macon Highway to close to where the loop connects. That may be a tier 1, I don't know. But my poor little section, which is the one that got the most votes, is a tier 3 or a tier 2 at best. But anyway, so I just wanted to let you all know that there is a lot of support out there for doing sidewalk or multi-use path on Timothy Road between Epps Bridge and Macon Highway. So our next meeting will be May 19th. I'll be in California, but I'll try to call in. And that's pretty much all I have to report on.
Can you remind me what time y'all meet on May 19th?
9 a.m.
9 a.m. Okay, cool. Thank you for that detailed report back, Teresa. Sorry I didn't have it in the agenda that we were going to have a detailed report back. Okay, and I'm assuming that someone is looking at the data from the Lexington public input as well, and I don't have any information on that, but I'm sure we'll get it soon. So Next on the agenda are our committees. And I don't think that Roswell had anything from the UGA side of things to go over with us because he didn't share anything, and we haven't asked him to chat with folks, so I wasn't expecting anything. Grants and data. I know y'all are applying for the RRFB grant. You want to talk about that, Mark, James? You're muted.
Go ahead, Mark.
Well, yeah, I think we decided when we met that we did want to pursue that. And I think the priority location was kind of alongside the initial part of the Firefly Trail, where there's already kind of a informal trail connecting the neighborhood to the Firefly. And it was decided that for a variety of reasons, including the stated priorities of the granting organization, to focus on neighborhoods that have been left out of some of these projects in the past, that we thought that would be the best location. Am I summarizing that correctly, you guys? Seeing James nodding sagely. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so I think the next step is we have to apply. And I guess I'll look to Daniel for guidance on what you need from me when or how to proceed, or who should take the lead on that.
Yeah, I guess looking through that grant application, it's all a web-based thing. So
well,
I think
Jake already created a template, right? He created a template that we would be able to use to fill in and then just copy and paste.
yeah, so I would say probably figuring out who's going to be doing which content, what stuff you need from me, and which stuff do we need from Leisure Services, because it is a site along one of the trails that I think we settled on. So that way we can get all of that supplemental. I think they sent over their information they have, but they might have more supplemental information if we ask for it specifically.
Okay. All right, I'll add to my to-do list page. Start working on the grant. May 30th, is that the deadline?
I believe I'm gonna pull that up and I'll double check right now.
Okay.
Daniel, if you relook at that application specific study data that you guys need, I can give you green light to ask for that from studies division. And that may be that's pre and post that we could get.
Okay.
And for folks who are watching, this location, as Mark said, along Little Oak Street, is about midway on the section of the Firefly Trail between Inglewood and the racetrack. And there's a fence there, and there's already, and this is the first time I think I've heard this phrase, there's already a social path there, and there has been community push to have, of course, you have formalized access to the trail. So there's a community-led effort. And then really appreciate grants and data and TPW and Alex Bond and all y'all collaborating to get this RRFB. There's already a traffic study completed on Little Oak Street, so we already have the data. So this is a great candidate for these flashing beacons to get folks who live along Little Oak Street, back Burney Street, Carpenter Lane, get them on the trail. It's their trail too.
Yeah, there's a large, really surprisingly large neighborhood back there. If you don't get back in there, it's a bit out of the way to get back in there, but that Little Oak Street is the key corridor, and the sight lines are not very good, and so that's why the beacons would be helpful for improving safety, helping kids safely get onto the Greenway, and non-kids as well, or the Firefly, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, that's, when you're on the Firefly Trail, at one point you're below the road, and at one point you're way over the road, so you're looking up and looking down. So those sight lines are not great. So thank y'all for applying for that. I'm gonna cross our fingers that we get this one. It'd be awesome.
And I am sending out just to the group that's working on the grant, the crossing location evaluation worksheet. I think that needs to be filled out by us, Stephen. So I'm going to add you and Alex on there, and Mark, I'll put you on there as well, so you can keep tabs on that process.
Okay.
And yeah, it looks like May 31st is the deadline. I just saw it, and now I'm not. Yeah, I think May 31st, and I'll link. Well, I guess I'm not in chat on that computer, so I'm not going to link it in chat.
When's y'all's next meeting?
I couldn't tell you off the top of my head. Did we set a next meeting, James? I'm trying to remember, Daniel. I don't think we did.
Schedule it.
I don't think so.
We should plan to schedule one about 2 weeks before the grant's due, I would think, and then in the meanwhile, stay in touch and kind of try to stay on top of this. So I'll send something out for like mid-May kind of timeline.
Okay.
Do you want me to go ahead and send out a meeting invite for that?
Yeah, did you have a time in mind or a day?
So if that is, the 31st is a Monday, 2 weeks before that would be the 17th. Do we want to just stick with our Tuesday options, or actually Wednesday would probably be pretty good too?
Wide open on those days, so that's fine.
Either works for me.
I have the ORGC monthly meeting on Tuesdays, so how about Monday or Wednesday? Which one works better?
Let's go with Monday, if that's okay with everybody. Give us a little more
Yep.
time. And
Monday's
where's Jake's template? Did he put it in Google Drive or someplace like that?
I think it was in either a Dropbox or Google Drive. Do y'all have one that you prefer over the other?
Drive for writing and editing, maybe, I guess, but I'll go with the will of the group.
So I'll be sending that invite out shortly.
Okay, thank you.
I think one point that came up earlier in the minutes was the estimated completion time of the Trail Creek Bridge. I know y'all approved the minutes. Did y'all get the appropriate date?
I sort of jumped on it and said it wasn't fall 2021, but it's more than a year from now, a little over a year.
I think it's fall 22. Todd, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Then why I'm in the Little Oak Street connection, have y'all talked to the developer that sent plans to planning on 12/20 or somewhere around there last December for their crossing to their development?
No,
Let me
Alex
forward-
did not mention that.
Let me forward the plans to you, Daniel, and then you can follow up to see if those got approved. And
Okay, would that be them installing a mid-block crossing there, and we should pick a different site?
Yes, that's them installing a mid-block crossing. I'll send you the plans.
Please do.
Okay.
Does that include RFPs?
I don't know if it included. It was just concept. So at that point, they, just showed the crossing and a very nice monument sign for the Firefly Trail in their concept.
Okay. Yeah, let's take a look because it might not preclude getting a set of RFPs for it.
Okay.
If that is the case, we could potentially work that out through email, or would you want to have a follow-up meeting, Mark, once we review those plans?
Hopefully by email. It's
okay. I agree.
Okay. Where exactly is that development? I'm sorry, I'm not aware of that.
Behind my house.
Oh, okay.
And so there's
Not knowing where your house is, that doesn't help me a lot.
Yeah.
I know the general area.
Yeah, so it's a huge swath of land between Little Oak Street, Inglewood, and Branch. So it's all that space back there. You'll see it.
Is an hour enough time, Mark?
Yeah, plenty.
Can y'all see me on the plans too?
I just sent them to Daniel, so he has them. So
Right. Thank you.
I will send those out to the commission listserv as a whole.
Sounds great. Yeah, I haven't been as on top of that development as I probably should be.
So between Bernie, Branch, and Little Oak and Inglewood, that area?
Yep.
Okay.
It's it got rezoned as a PD, so planned development.
Mm-hmm,
I don't know what the status is.
Yeah, we certainly want to coordinate with that.
Mhm.
Whatever they decide to do.
oh, and another point is when you see there's a little triangle shape that's on the plan, Daniel, they were asking a couple of weeks ago whether we had any interest in it or not because it's part of the railroad right away that we, acquired during the Firefly Trail. And so we don't want it because it's across the street and it's abandoned. So they will be acquiring that as well. So just for your FYI, Daniel.
Okay. Excellent.
Okay, I guess moving on to policy committee, y'all know what we've been working on, complete streets draft. Next is coming up with our next round of tier 1 projects, and probably separately from that, those specifically that will pitch us or will identify T-SPLOS as a potential funding source for that. And then we want to work on a small sidewalks budget line item for next year's budget. And we have to, because it's a new line item, we have to have that done and submitted by October for the following year's budget. Education and communications, Teresa, any updates?
Yes, actually, tomorrow morning, there will be an open streets meeting via Zoom, of course. I believe it's at, let me see, gotta check my calendar here. It is at 10 a.m. And we are going to be trying to plan an open streets event. So this will be our first meeting in a couple of months. And since things are looking less deadly than they were, we're all feeling like we can have an event in the fall and be pretty happy about that. The other thing I want to say is how excited we all were to see our wonderful Daniel Sizemore quoted in the flagpole. Yay! And yeah, to see Athens in motion getting some really nice press. That's really good. So yeah, so good work, everyone.
I know, I was so impressed by our media representation this past month. Also with you, Teresa, in the Atlanta Highway video. And Mark, you said you felt pretty good about your quote in Flagpole Prince Avenue. Yeah. And then Daniel had a pretty sizable bit in that Flagpole article. I was again, I was really pleased that it wasn't just about Barber Street, it was also a recap of Athens in motion, what we're doing, where we are with various projects. And so appreciate Flagpole getting that out, our local news publication, our local banner, not just the alternative banner anymore, the real banner, right? Flying in the wind. So appreciate that coverage.
Did their link ever get changed to actually work?
I haven't followed up with that. And the only issue is that the period got put in the URL. That's all.
It just got looped in at the end of that, and I'm checking it right now.
Okay.
Yeah, it's still there. I would definitely, I don't know if y'all have any connections at Flagpole. I sent Blake an email already. I could probably try again. But I would really like that link to work tomorrow.
Yeah. Oh, I do have connections at Flagpole. Okay.
It's just that one period, if it gets removed, that link will be fine. And I don't know if there's any sort of thing they can do to kind of bump out the story again since it'll be live. But I think timing the article, it would have been nice to time it with our public input, but the timelines just didn't match up. So I don't know if they can do an extra bump, but at the very least, we could getting that period out of the barber would help.
Yeah, we can reshare it. I can share it. No, wait. Did I already share it on T-Splosh? I share it on. I might have already shared it on T-Splosh. Yeah, we can get it out with our networks that way.
Awesome. That'd be great.
Cool. Oh, Teresa, did you have anything else you wanted to add?
Not at this time. But yeah, at some point we'll have to reconvene the committee, but I mean, there really isn't anything for us to do right now, so.
Is your meeting over WebEx? Or is
Yes, it is.
Okay. Cool. Can I be CC'd on that? I probably can't make it, but I like to listen in when I can, if I can do work in the background, you know.
Okay,
People.
I don't know if it's kosher for me to send the link to you.
Okay, sure.
But I'll just send Melanie an email and just ask her to do that.
Thank you. And it's
And
really it's much less work attending meetings that I don't have to write the agenda for Arlene, so it's actually kind of fun.
Just eavesdrop.
Yeah, no, it's great. I learned a lot listening to Prince Avenue, and then I learned so much from listening in the Grants and Data Committee. So
it's good white noise for the background.
yeah, it's more than white noise.
Yeah. I was also going to mention, I just got this email from Stephen a second ago, in regards to Barrow and Child Street intersection. They completed a study there, and an always stop is warranted based on the site restriction. So in mid-May, they're going to be putting forth an agenda for converting that into an always stop. Stephen, is that
with the crosswalk, with crosswalks? Yeah.
So with that, I guess.
So if that accomplishes the goal, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Dan. You're about to ask the same thing.
Yeah, I was just gonna say if it could include curb reconstruction to narrow down the or like bump outs essentially, or if that would be like if we wanted to have bump outs included in that section, would that be an independent project?
We'll have to ask Tim to see if that could be included.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think if that stop sign, the stop sign there gets treated like the one at the corner of Barrow and Pulaski, it will not stop anyone. People fly through it, roll through it, accelerate through it all day long. I watch it. So that would be my concern. I think shortening the distance and making it a more acute angle will slow down traffic more effectively if that's at all possible. But that's just my opinion as an observer, a close observer of that section there. So anyway, thanks for your work on this.
Cool, yeah. All right, so just a couple more items. I know that we're a little bit over the time than I thought we would. Aaron and I did have T-Splosh yesterday. Aaron, you want to give the lowdown, down low? What's up?
Sure, jump in if I miss out on anything, but paving was a big thing. Ronnie presented on that. Certainly, what was it? I don't know, was it 25 million? It was, how much was on this T-Splosh, Lauren? Do you remember for paving alone? It was a
27 million.
Yeah. huge chunk. They're going to, a lot of good paving is being done with this, of course, but he did say, Ronnie said that they're going to request more pavement funding in the next round of T-Splosh too, which both Lauren and I raised the point that, this is not special purpose, right? These are regular maintenance. I mean, basically, even though they don't say it's, it's that exactly, because you can't do just maintenance with T-Splosh. But they are going to request more, for the next round of T-Splosh, because they are getting less money too with the gas tax and whatnot. Hardly anything, if they, as they said. So it's having to come from other places like T-Splosh. But that was a big reason for our meeting on that. They did discuss some of the other projects, of course, Barber Street and Lexington, Prince, and but anything else that I know we're closing in on time, but anything else, Lauren, that?
No, I think that's great. We got a version of Todd Miller's update, so thanks Todd for that, on various projects.
Yeah.
There's some great progress going on with the greenways, and as Aaron said, of course, pavement maintenance will come up as a project submitted by TBW. And to give you guys the reason why it's useful to know that is our bike ped funding so far has come from T-Splosh. And in order to, if we had enough money to maintain our roads, it would be $8 million a year. So I guess we can expect TPW to put in a request for at least $35 million for T-Splosh. And it's kind of rough because we're all like competing with each other for those dollars that just aren't available elsewhere. And I think that I'm kind of hoping for an infrastructure windfall, that maybe we don't have to devote as much of our local dollars for bridges and maybe not quite as much for the roads this time around. So we can do these, so we can make our roads safer with these, with sidewalks and bike lanes, and maybe get some trail connectivity.
It'd be great if, and I don't think they talked about it much because they don't know what they're going to spend the Biden bucks on, but it'd be great if some of that could be spent on, a lot of that could be spent on pavement, so we're not constantly having to take it out of T-Splosh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And of course, there's opportunities there for restriping, like we've been talking about. But yeah.
But it was our first meeting since December, I believe, for T-Splosh. But yeah, and we are supposed to meet again in May
to talk about Barber Street.
Yeah.
Yay! All right. Thank you, Aaron. Anything from the Greenway? I know Jake's not here. Any Greenway Commission stuff? Daniel, did you go to that last meeting?
Yes, it is. I don't recall. I think they're going forward with the plan rewrite for the written report of the Greenway Network Plan. The Planning Commission is working on that, and then the Natural Resource Commission is working on their section as well. I think I don't know exactly where it could fit in, but it might be helpful for you guys to keep looped in on what they're doing with their rewrite. I know that they definitely have a heavy focus on natural resources, and but also transportation, education, recreation, all of those other goals. So this particular rewrite is probably going to focus less on, I think the 2016 plan focused a lot on the changes and the structure going forward. And so here's what we used to do, here's what we're going to do, and here's what the plan is. And it had the graphic layout of the trails in it. And I think moving forward, they're going to try to keep it more as a conceptual level, like kind of corridor discussion within the written report, because the map updates are every 2 years. And so they don't want the written report to get out of sync with the physical maps. And so rather than having the maps all embedded in the document, maps is part of the 2-year update, if that makes sense. So with that, I think they're going to be talking about prioritization of they're they've gotten a lot of funding recently, and we've got a lot of projects going on. Those top tier projects from within the Greenway Network Plan have been funded, and partially some of them have been even constructed all the way. So it'll be a really good idea to find out what their thoughts are moving forward with prioritization of.
Well, what is this? What is this funding? Are you talking about T-SPLOST or some other funding that they've gotten?
It's so what it is they create a tier list, kind of like Athens in Motion, but it's a little different. The tiers that we had created in the Greenway Network Plan were more like categories, and so like tier 1 was filling in the gaps of the network. Tier 2 was expanding out from the network, and tier 3 was starting new trail systems and new networks like the Middle Oconee River and that kind of thing. So with the creation of Athens in Motion, some of those urban trails have been now thought to be moved over, of like, oh, someone else can handle that. But I think something that needs to be highlighted is the need to keep that, this is still an important connection. It doesn't necessarily need to be funded through the Greenway Commission's applications. They can focus within the Greenway networks, but some of these urban trails, it would be nice to have as high priority projects for other funding opportunities to reference. So that's where I think we discussed at one point about a difference between kind of priority and funding strategies. Like high priority doesn't mean it's a high funding priority for Greenway. And so I don't know, I haven't been able to attend any of those meetings because they have kind of overlapped a little bit with these meetings, but I did reach out to them and asked if they could hold the planning committee on a different schedule, because I think they were matched up perfectly with this one. So hopefully I can tune in on those. I think they're starting to be in person though, so they're going to be harder to tune in on virtually. I think that covers it. Sorry, I went into a lot of detail there.
Yeah, that's useful. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you. Yeah, I hope that you can get in on those meetings too. And it's going to be rough when we're all having to do meetings in person again. Can't just listen in. All right. That's all I had. Is there anything we missed or any events coming up? I hadn't had a chance to look at the Mayor Commission's their agendas recently, so I'm not sure if there's anything on there that we should pay attention to besides what we've already talked about in this meeting. I've heard there's continuing drama with the Princeton Mill launch.
Yeah, do you have any updates on that, Todd?
What's going on there?
We're getting ready to submit the application this week. We finished our review today. The Princeton Mill subdivision or neighborhood folks didn't like us using the word Princeton Mill, and so they have asked us to drop the name. So we have dropped the name to Macon Highway. That was one point, and then they're just worried that if we make it too inviting of a parking lot, people will come and hang out and maybe picnic down next to the river and that kind of stuff. And so,
yeah, sounds awful.
On public land, right?
they might bring their family down to the river and sit on the boulders and have a picnic lunch or whatever. So they're just worried about crime and that kind of stuff, the usual.
Mhm.
Even though it's pretty well isolated on a little island, you don't realize there's a big old ravine between the where the boat launch is and the subdivision. It's basically a tributary that's coming down beside the church, and so it's a pretty massive ravine that somebody would have to get the rappelling gear out to get across to get into the neighborhood and that kind of
It said
stuff.
it's hard to carry that flat screen TV when you're rappelling. I've tried that. It just doesn't work.
Yeah, and the stream bank in that area is 5 to 6 feet or more to the water in places. So it's there's not a lot of people gonna be playing. It's not gonna be redneck beach. They're not gonna be hanging out on a sandbar because it's a 6 foot drop to the water. So
So I had a question. Princeton Mill, wasn't that the historic structure that was there originally? So
correct.
so I just finished reading the history of Athens. They appropriated that name from the historic structure. That's ridiculous that they now feel it's theirs to own. I mean,
Yeah,
I think we should be echoing the history of our community in how we name these parks if possible and educating folks about the history of the community. And it seems like an opportunity to do that. I don't think it's a hill to die on, but it seems kind of bizarre that that would be considered their name now.
yeah, correct. They don't want people coming up into the subdivision to see those historic ruins and maybe stopping or whatever. It's supposedly just barely visible in the water, but whatever we can do to avoid bringing people into their neighborhood.
Yeah.
So,
Like I said, not hill to die on, but it's a bit, ironical.
but
Yeah.
they've written a letter to DNR with their complaints, and they would like DNR to disqualify our grant application. But the problem is we got SPOS money, and we're trying to get it. We have funding, so basically, if they help us, if they disqualify us from the grant, we just basically are losing money from the taxpayers, that could have been used on the project, and it would have to, go here instead of being able to build another water trail access point somewhere else in the county or whatever. So
Do we have any chance of succeeding in derailing this?
I think so. We've had enough of the water trails people and stuff voicing their opinion and everything, but mayor commission may get a little iffy and table it or something, and that could kind of get a little sideways for make it a little nervous for us and everything. But
We'll see.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, everywhere you go, towns that have prioritized their waterfronts and their rivers are doing great with it. Columbus, Greenville, and I mean, I know I'm preaching to the choir here, but it's just another example of how we can prioritize that here for the benefit of the community.
Yeah, they found out that the Greenway runs up through their neighborhood too because of this, and they've gotten really upset about that as well. So um, it's it's pretty fascinating.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well, Todd, thank you for all the hard work you're doing.
Yeah.
It's a shame because we have not one but two rivers in Athens. They're our most underutilized
Mhm.
resource, and I mean, it's really, we all know it takes a long time to build trails. It takes a lot of work to build the Greenway, and it's decades in the making, and same for the Firefly Trail. And these launches, by comparison, they are just so inexpensive. The trails are there. We have this great resource, and if people just knew that it was there, they would appreciate it more. We get I think we get all of our water from the Middle Oconee. And when people see these resources, they become invested in protecting them. So it's really a shame. I hope we can see this. And I'll be talking to some commissioners.
Yes, that would be appreciated because that will help us.
Okay.
Yeah.
When should we write letters?
The agenda item is coming up. I would have to check, but it's like it's coming up this month or the next agenda setting probably. I can't remember, but it's I can find that and send that to Daniel.
Okay. Thanks.
Todd, are you on the Athens in Motion listserv?
No, I am not.
Okay. It might be helpful if we could add him, and then he could send materials as well.
Just send me your email address and I can add you if you want. Although you'll get all the other emails on the listserv as well, so.
That's fine.
Todd loves emails.
Hillary was worried I would get too many emails, so she's like, I'll just filter it and send you the important information.
I gotta run, but if you could just send me your email address, then we'll add it to the listserv.
Okay.
I'm sending it now.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, I guess everyone's dropping off, so I guess we should end the meeting.
6:07.
Yeah, whoops. Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting. I will make the motion.
Second.
Okay, Mark, Teresa. All right, all those in favor, bye.
Bye.
Thank you, guys.
Thank
Bye.
you.